Hello again, it's Hiddenpurple, back again to give you yet another in-depth game review. It's been a few weeks since my last review, but I've been hard at work, grinding away on a few projects. From here on out, you can expect weekly content every Friday afternoon. This week, I'm reviewing a game called Recore, released initially in September of 2016 and re-released in 2017. This action-adventure title is the brainchild of Armature Studios and Concept. Armature is a studio that was founded by key team members from the Metroid Prime team, and Concept was founded by Keiji Inafune, the creator of the Mega Man series. With a team of industry veterans like this, you'd think that Recore has to be a pretty solid title, right? Well, after I finished the game and started reading up on the developers, I was really surprised to find out who had made this game. If it had been made by a brand new team of developers, a bunch of fresh faces, then I could forgive the glaring flaws. The fact that it was made by an extremely experienced team of industry veterans tells me that either the developers got lazy or there was far too much pressure put on by the producers to get the game out in a short amount of time. I'm going to be spoiling pretty much the whole story, so spoiler warning, though I will say the story really isn't anything special. The game is a mess of confusing and boring plot points. The story is that we're terraforming a new home for humanity on the planet of Far Eden. Early on, you hear about the Dust Devil Plague, which is named as the reason we left Earth, but the name Dust Devil Plague had me thinking that we moved from Earth because of some planet-wide dust bowl. It's not until partway through the second act that we meet a victim of the plague and find out that it's actually a viral infection. All we really know is that the guy had to amputate his legs below the knees because of it. It honestly doesn't feel like Recore has a good understanding of what needs to be left a mystery and what needs to be explained to craft a well-balanced story. The story mainly focuses on Jules' quest to find the prismatic cores. These are the game's MacGuffins that everybody wants to get a hold of, except they really aren't all that uncommon, making me wonder why the main villain wants to steal mine when he's probably stubbing his toes on the things every time he turns a corner anyway. If you gather enough of the cores, then you can reactivate the terraforming process on Far Eden and save the world or whatever, but that's not the real problem with the story. The biggest issue with the story comes in the form of pacing. This game's pacing makes me think of another failed title that I played years ago, a game called Dark Void. Like Recore, Dark Void had a lot of potential, but also like Recore, it had almost no second act, and it completely fell flat. Only a handful of missions into the game, you encounter the last boss after having only met him twice previously. You learn almost nothing about him up to that point, and you have no idea what his motivations are. That is, until you finish beating him for the first time within the last level, at which point one of the audio logs from Jules' father starts to play. In this recording, it's suggested that Victor is actually Jules' father. Big shocker. And the core bots have had humans uploaded into them. So why, you might be wondering, did Victor kill off all of the remaining humans in the colony ship? You should brace yourself for this, because it's quite possibly the most ridiculous villain motivation I've ever heard in any story ever. So he went insane and committed genocide because of the directors of the colony ships. When they first arrived at Far Eden, they sent out a firmware update to all of the core bots on Far Eden, and it's because of this and for no other reason that he killed all of humanity. So because without notifying him they set a firmware update out, this guy committed genocide. Like, I can't even. I was blown away at just how lazy that was. They leave us completely in the dark about Victor's motivations up to this point, and this is what they give us? This game is rife with confusing and unexplained plot points just like this. For example, why are the core bots on Jules' team not changed by Victor's corruption? It's never explained. I mean, it's possible that the hidden voice recordings throughout the game can explain away some of the more aggravating plot lines, but by the time I beat the game, I couldn't be bothered to go back and collect them all. I was just so bored. There isn't much to be said about the gameplay. It's poorly designed and completely unpolished. I would expect a team of industry veterans like the ones behind this game to have taken the time to polish the gameplay before launching, but they couldn't be bothered. The shooting is either boring and way too easy if you're fighting a normal enemy, or almost impossible if you're fighting a chrome enemy. There's no in between here. The animations are incomplete. Just look at this. The dungeons are poorly designed, boring, and repetitive. This game does not feel like it was designed by experienced game designers. They also decided to artificially extend the length of the campaign. This is something I'm seeing more and more within the AAA industry. Developers will lock you out of the next story mission until you go back and complete a certain number of side quests. It's a lazy move that forces you to take part in activities that you might otherwise have no interest in doing. There's also systems in place to upgrade your core bot frames and level up their cores, but the stat boosts make a nominal difference at best, and your time is better spent just playing through the campaign so you can finish finish up the game and go do something more fun, like banging your head on a wall. If you're looking for replayability, you're looking in the wrong place. Once you've beaten the game, you've done pretty much everything already. That's not to say there aren't plenty of activities following the campaign, but they're all just slight variants on activities you've already done. If you're absolutely dying of boredom and you don't have anything else better to play, then yes, this game will fit into your time budget, though when you die, there is absolutely no loss of progress. It's almost insulting, actually. When you die, you simply go back in progress a few seconds and lose nothing. So yes, it'll fit into your time budget, but it's time spent playing a very boring and poorly made game. All in all, I have to give the game a pretty negative score. If Recore had been made by a team of developers who were new on the scene, I might have gone a bit easier, but this kind of game coming from a pair of teams loaded with veterans is absolutely unacceptable. For gameplay, I'm scoring Recore at a 4. The gameplay is unpolished and lazy, but at least it's functional. In the story, I gave the game a 2. It fails pretty hard, but there were 1 or 2 spots throughout the game that got me to raise an eyebrow. In replayability, I gave it a 1. For time budget score, I'm giving it a 5. You can easily fit the game into your time budget, even if it is a giant pile of crap. So final scores are 2.33 and 5. Not great at all. What are your thoughts on the review? Have you ever played Recore before? Did you like it? Did you hate it as much as I did? Do you have a request for a future review, or would you like to add anything at all to the conversation? Feel free to comment down below. I'd be thrilled to hear from every one of you. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's review. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notifications bell right next to it so you never miss out on any future content. Be sure to come back next week for my take on the indie title Slime Rancher. It's a much, much better game, I promise. Now I'm out of here. Take it easy, y'all.